butter in your face.
Hmm.
Can you hear me? I couldn't unmute myself. So I need one more member of my board to have a quorum.
Hey, Danu.
Yes.
Uh,
Hi.
sorry, I have to head out at 7:30 or just a little before 7:30. So just FYI.
Okay. I'll go as fast as I can, Rebecca.
You don't have to do that, but thanks.
Okay. Okay. Sir, Dave Crawford has to leave at 7, so. But tonight's a pretty light meeting, though. There's no real old business or no new business, so probably we should fly through here pretty quick. Well, while we're waiting, why don't I reintroduce Megan Weiss? She is our acting Park and Rec director until we get a new one hired. And then we have Becca Sickbert from the Creative Alliance. She has some photos of the sculpture at the Shriver Park. And we also have Matthew Nelson, who's our arborist. Matthew, why don't you hop on? I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our board.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay, I don't know how to get the video working. But hello, I'm Matthew. I'm the city arborist from Manitou.
Great.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're great. We're happy to have you here. Okay, looks like we have a quorum, so I can call the meeting to order. I'd like to call the November 7th PARAB meeting to order, and I've done some introductions. And could I get somebody to approve the agenda?
Yeah, Daniel, I'll move to approve the agenda.
Great, thanks, Tim. I'll second that. Is anyone opposed to that? Okay, then it passes. Can I have somebody approve the minutes, the draft of October 3rd, 2022?
I'll move to approve.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. I'll second that as well. Anybody opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Public comments not on the agenda. I spoke with Becca, and she would like to get on our agenda as a public comment, but also it's also a presentation also, but it didn't make it in time for our agenda. So Becca Sickbert, why don't you go ahead and go ahead and make your presentation on our public comments.
Okay, thank you, Danu, and good evening, everyone. I actually have two quick notes. One is a reminder that the last match info session is happening this Saturday at 10:30 a.m., both in person and online. And you can find that registration information at manitoumaid.com/matchinfo. So just putting that out there, should anyone be interested in securing funding for arts, culture, or heritage moments. And then secondly, yes, we've been in talks with several PARAB folks and our former director, Skylar, for several months now about possible locations. So I don't know if I can share my screen. I'm happy to show you these photos with some mock-ups, or maybe this is just an introduction to get a temperature check, and we try to get on the agenda for next month, because I'm not expecting a public comment to have any sort of actionability. We're just trying to get a sense of what would you support based on these recommendations of what the Creative Alliance, who is charged with implementing public art projects for the city of Manitou Springs, what the Public Art Committee supports. Okay, so I'm going to try to share my screen if I can. It looks like I will have that option. Here we go.
Becca, I'm sorry, I meant to say Field Park, not Shriver. So I stand corrected.
It's okay. Yes, this is all at Fields Park, and I
Yeah.
cannot see. Can you see?
Yes, I can see. Yeah.
Marvelous. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and no. Slideshow, please. There we go. Okay, so there were 3 locations. I think this is from August. I'm losing track of time just a little bit, but the conversations were looking at 3 better supported placements for the URA funded sculpture that is part bench and part public art. And so I just want to show you, this is option 1. It is option 1 because it is ranked as such by our Public Art Committee. The reason for its placement is that it has access from the sidewalk, because the bench then would be ADA accessible and also visible. And also it would serve parents and guardians and friends of folks who are using the playground. So I want to show you what that looks like, and I can go back should you need to look at it. But essentially what we had spoken about with, I think, oh gosh, I don't even remember who was in attendance, but I can pull that up. This particular site visit was exploring what would happen if we removed a panel or maybe 2 of the fence and installed a 6-foot pedestal adjacent to the playground so that it was accessible from the sidewalk. So again, this is option 1. And then moving on, option 2 would be this berm at Beckers and El Paso Boulevard. At the time, the conversation was looking at this difficult to maintain piece of turf. It is hard to get a mower up there. For those reasons, it's also not the Public Art Committee's favorite location, because it's not super accessible unless you have a motorized wheelchair to access that hill, but it is beautiful and visible. And so what an art installation might look like there would be something like this. Option 2, then being on the berm at Beckers Lane and also El Paso Boulevard. So then moving on to option 3. This is a mulched area that is currently an underutilized placement. It's adjacent to Beckers Lane. It's close to the Beckers Lane Bridge installation that's coming soon in spring of 2023, if you're tracking our public art projects. And also it's kind of on the margins. So our Public Art Committee finds this is the least desirable of the 3 locations. It's just not very visible. It gets a lot of shade. It would be clouded by trees. And at the same time, it's still sheltered from flying baseballs and discs, etc. And so of the 3 locations, this is option 3, and it would look like this. And so what I'm hoping to achieve in this public comment portion is just to get a temperature check. What would PARAB be interested in seeing in the future, or what would you generally support as kind of a consensus topic for input as our next steps?
Becca, do you want to give some rough dimensions of the sculpture?
Sure, yeah. Thank you for asking. So the pedestal is 6 feet in diameter. It doesn't extend much farther. I think it's probably about, I think 12 inches in height, and it would descend about another 6 to 8 inches, depending on where the footing needs to happen. So for example, in this mulch bed that we're looking at in option 3, that footer would need to be bigger because it's not established as a surface, according to our engineers. And so the pedestal itself is 6 feet. This way, in terms of its verticality, the pedestal would then be another 18 to 24 inches. And then the sculpture itself is 11 feet. And so that bench is shown at approximate scale.
Okay. I think that location is a pollinator garden. It's over by the Creek Walk Trail, right?
Yeah, it's sort of between the property line and the Creek Walk Trail. So this is your southernmost location option. And then to back it up, this is the southernmost. Oh, and I should mention, these hoops are showing you, each one is a standard hula hoop, which is 3 feet. So you put 2 of those together and you get to a 6-foot footprint in terms of how much space it would occupy. And so then option 2 is your berm. This is the northernmost site location possibility. And then this is the one that is basically between the 2 of them. And again, the most ADA accessible.
Comments or questions for Becca?
I like the playground. Is there a reason why we shouldn't consider that?
I like it too, myself. It makes the most sense in terms of the digging and the footer that has to be installed. I also would like to actually have the pedestal be incorporated into part of the sidewalk too.
I'd also love to get rid of all the fence. Since removing some fence came up.
Right. You know, Tim, the only reason why I can think that they put the fence up was to try to keep the kids from running out into the parking lot. That's the only thing I could think of. But, you know, that's something that we can we can visit and discuss, but definitely take at least that first panel of fencing out of there so that it wouldn't impede the sculpture.
I also second getting rid of that fence. It's hideous and it is not meshed with the sculpture.
Right, or at least if we do decide to do another fence, have it be the black wrought iron fencing that is consistent throughout the park.
Or maybe just some sort of short barrier that's either stone or concrete.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's a great location. I really love the hula hoop visual aids. Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so then what I will do is take this back as guidance. We have a public art committee meeting tomorrow morning and let them know that there's general alignment on option 1 as the one that we want to contract with the artist so that we can begin proceedings with City Council. In the meantime, I would love for this to be an official agenda item for next month, if that's a possibility.
Yeah, could I get Dave Crawford, you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I'm solid with the group. I think it's a great location. I agree with, just cutting back the fence minimally. And I think aesthetically, that's the most beautiful location.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, well, Becca, it sounds like all 4 of us here are on board with that. And I would like to see that section of fence taken out of there so that the round circle could actually be like right in that where the angle is there. So it kind of blends in better.
Okay,
Hey,
so
really quick, Chris, do you have?
Yeah, Chris, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see Chris on there.
No
Chris
worries.
Grau?
Yeah. One sec.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, looks good. Sorry I'm late, everyone.
all right. Becca Sickberg, if that gives you enough direction, then then I guess we can either put it on our agenda for December to officially vote on it, or I guess we should do that technically. Or I could maybe I could put it in old business for tonight, but we already approved the agenda, so I probably shouldn't do that. So, but
yeah,
as far as I know, everybody, agrees on that location, option 1.
okay. Well, thank you for your time and your consideration, and we're more than happy to appear again because we want to make this procedurally correct.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to do any public comments? If not, I'm going to move on to our reports. For PARAB, we have the Iggy Igloo mural dedication, November 19, from 11 to 1 o'clock at Memorial Park. If you all remember, that is the mural that they wanted to paint on that concrete section. I think it's over by the bridge and the creek, and it's open to the public. Tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, we're gonna have the Park and Rec director interviews. And Flying Pig Farm, I let them know that they were awarded $500 from the PARAB board. And I suggested maybe they could use that money for an event for next year. So Ruth thought that maybe they could use it for Earth Day 2023. And then I was talking to Skylar and Matthew Nelson, our arborist, about forming a tree committee per the tree ordinance. So I guess, Matthew, we should probably get together and talk about that with maybe Mary Ellen and see if Mary Ellen still wants to be involved. And if she has other people, or if you guys, PARAB, if you know anybody who'd like to be on the tree or tree committee. And I think Tim and Dave are liaisons for PARAB. Is that correct, Tim and Dave?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So we should probably open up a discussion about that and figure out a plan to move forward. And then depending on the mayor, on how he wants to structure the January agenda, we're waiting to hear from council about the Soda Springs Park Master Plan joint meeting discussion. And Emma Crawford Memorial, they decided they didn't want to put it up on Red Mountain. And so Corey, Skylar, and I think Jenna Gallus decided to ask Townhouse if they would be willing to put the monument memorial in front of the Townhouse pavilion there, where the outside area is. And they agreed to it. So apparently Corey went before HPC and they approved it. And so that's going to be the new location for the Emma Crawford Memorial. And then the last thing that I didn't add here that I forgot to add was tomorrow night I'm presenting our budget to City Council. And That's all. Now, I'm looking, Michelle Weatherholt, our city council liaison. Do you have anything? Hi.
The only thing I have is we did pass phase 2 for Soda Springs Park.
Okay, very good. Very good. Oh, the other thing that I'd like to add is that the city hired a grant writer, and she got permission to work on the phase 2 Soda Springs grant for us. So,
Yes.
yeah, so we're gonna probably be getting a few drafts pretty soon from her for the playground, which, and also some sidewalk improvements and
Awesome.
connectivity. So, anything else, Michelle?
That's it for me. We're in budget season and codes. So, yeah.
Okay. All righty. OSAC, there's the agenda's attached to that. Another thing we should probably think about is starting to get into some joint discussion with OSAC about Serpentine Drive and trying to do some kind of trail connectivity up to the flats for our park up there. Okay, Parks and Recreation Department. Do we have any kind of reports from our acting director, Megan Weiss?
Everybody, good to see you all. Just real quickly, we have a new pool manager. Her name is Jessica Scott, and she started today. She's really wonderful. She just moved from Louisiana. So if you're near the pool, please stop by, say hello, welcome her to Manitou. Her focus is going to be in swim lessons and programming, which we're really excited about. We're also looking at getting some new equipment for the weight room and a roof repair. Event-wise, we have the Christmas parade on December 10th at 6 p.m., which is always a fun event. And then we are having the Salvation Army Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners as well in Memorial Hall. Recreation, I just opened up youth basketball sign up today. So pre-K through 6th graders can play on a Manitou Springs team through the Y in the downtown Colorado Springs Y. Yeah, other than that, we had a chipper day on Saturday and not a huge turnout, but they did get 18 loads chipped. And yeah, Matthew's just been working on planting trees and the parks, just working on like winterizing everything, blowing out the irrigation systems, cleaning up the windstorm, and that's about it.
Great. Now, remind the basketball people that we got a basketball court down there at Shriver that they can use to practice.
I will, you know, so practices start in January, so I'm not sure if they'll want to be outdoors, but I will. As of now, they'll be practicing at the grade school.
Okay.
But maybe there could be like a winter basketball league. I'll look into it. Or summer, I mean. Where they
Okay.
could be outside. Thanks, Tanu.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'm going to move on to the Parks Monthly Report, which is attached to our packet. And then Matthew, before I move off of Parks and Rec, is there anything you'd like to add? Matthew
Oh,
Nelson?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I don't know if it's productive to go through a general rundown of the tree committee or if we want to touch that at a different point in time.
I would say probably we should have a separate meeting with the people who would be actively involved in that.
Alrighty.
And yeah. And then our liaison can report back to PARAB based on that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matthew.
No worries.
Okay, other business. Our December meeting. I was gonna say we could perhaps, you know, take a break, take a Christmas break or something, but then that might put Becca Sickbird. Would that put you guys off your track of getting your sculpture location completed? Okay, all righty. All right, well then I guess we should continue and have our regular meeting in December. And then I guess we'll just have to decide about January based on city council. Because I think that we were gonna do the joint meeting with city council instead of having our regular retreat for strategic planning. If I understood that correctly, in January, which is usually what we do. And then I guess if we don't have a date with city council, do we want to go ahead and schedule a January strategic planning workshop for January?
I would say we shouldn't have a meeting until we meet with city council, just so we can get a sense of where we're headed.
Okay,
That's my thought.
sure, yeah. Anybody else have some thoughts on that?
No, I concur.
Okay, great. Well, sounds like we're on hold anyway, so I guess I'll be in touch with everybody about January. Is there anything else here? I think this is the quickest meeting we've ever had.
Seriously.
Really,
Yeah.
really quick,
Yeah.
do we have something on the agenda for December? Because we could amend this, I don't know. If that's the only thing, we have time this evening to discuss and
Right.
vote on, I think, but I don't
Right.
know procedurally, but
Well, we're not a quasi judicial. And I guess the worst thing that would happen is we would get yelled at, but I guess, you know what, why don't we, yeah, well, let's just go for it. So let's just put your agenda item back on our old business for right now. I'll just add that to the agenda since you're here for public comments, and so why don't we just
Hey,
go
Danu,
ahead-
are we making a recommendation or are we making an approval? Because it seems to me like we don't have the final say, right?
Well, I think for PARAB we do because we have a quorum. And so PARAB can vote on it to officially say, yes, option number 1 is the location that we would choose to have the sculpture be installed.
If I may, I think
Yes,
because it would involve both a concrete pedestal pouring and a fence change, so we would be shortening at least a length of the fence. You would want to make a recommendation to council to direct staff in such a regard. So it would be helpful to have a PARAB endorsement, even though we've already kind of had conversations. So on some level, this is old business, but because we've made some transition and comments, that's really something that I will own, that this didn't appear on old business as it should have. So I think procedurally what you might want to do is amend the agenda to add this as an old business item so that you could discuss it as such.
I was just about to make that motion.
please do so.
Second.
Okay. All right. Well, then I think, is anybody opposed to amending the agenda, even though we already approved it? We can, let's move to approve the agenda as amended to add approval of sculpture location at Fields Park to old business.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, this is essentially a follow-up discussion with pictures to demonstrate the location options as we discussed previously.
Right. Right. Does everybody approve of that first motion to amend the agenda? Is anybody opposed? Okay, motion is unanimously approved. So would somebody like to make a motion then on the location of the sculpture for Fields Park?
This is Chris. I'll make a motion to place the sculpture at the, I don't know, what's it called? next, adjacent to the playground, and the sidewalk in Fields Park.
And removing a section of the chain link fencing.
Yes, which would involve removing a section of chain link fence. And that is our recommendation.
And
Crawford second.
yeah, and I'd offer to amend that with a recommendation that the city look into removing the entire fence or replacing with something more aesthetically pleasing, like a
Let's stay with the
shrubbery.
black, let's do with the black, let's stay with the black wrought iron fencing that's already existing in all our parks. That is what I would,
I prefer no fence.
well, I
Yeah.
guess that's a whole different discussion. that we'd
Yeah,
have
this is
to
just
have.
this is a recommendation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for
That
now,
might
for the
tie up
motion then,
approval.
the motion would be to install the proposed sculpture at the adjacent to the playground and the sidewalk, and to remove a section of the chain link fencing in order to do so. Yes, is that right, Chris?
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
Could we
Okay.
just say that whole side of the fence, right, instead of just a section of it? Because, or, you know, like, it's not gonna be very aesthetically pleasing to, like, you have this awesome sculpture and then like one panel missing and then the fence, right? So maybe like just that side section to begin with.
Well, now I'm thinking, well, if we're gonna do that, we may as well take it all out. Right? Doesn't make sense just to take a portion of it out. May as well take it all out while we're doing it all.
Right,
So,
but isn't that gonna add an additional cost? Shouldn't we keep those two things separate?
yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, because we're having two different conversations now.
We can make
So,
two recommendations. I'm fine with that. Do you want to split it up?
yeah,
We go with Chris's original.
her
proposed
original motion,
recommendation. Yeah.
right? Okay,
Let's vote on
so
that first.
Can I just say something?
of course.
I would mention the fence in your recommendation, the removal of the fence. Unless you, so when it does get presented to council with your recommendation,
Uh-huh.
I can bring up the fence and the removal of the fence. But it'd be better if it was prompted as a recommendation coming from PARAB about the fence being removed. Because I'll tell you right now, I am in favor of the fence being removed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, Michelle, is it'd be better if our motion just was a standalone motion for the location of the sculpture.
Yes, for the location of the sculpture. And then if you want the fence brought up too, because that is going to bring up costs. If you'd like the fence removed, to bring that up too. I mean, I can put it in my notes to bring it up. But
So
if that could be in the recommendation.
why don't we have Chris's recommendation of location, and then I can recommend additionally that we remove the fence around the play park and the sculpture as a second recommendation.
That sounds good.
Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, then let's first vote on the location of the sculpture. Is everybody who approves of that location of the sculpture as Chris's motion?
Yes.
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 Is anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. And then we have a recommendation to remove the chain link fence. I guess, would that be a recommendation or a motion?
Well, I suppose you're making the motion and then we are going to vote and formalize that recommendation to council, right?
I guess so, but Yeah, maybe for now, we just recommend it. How's that?
Great.
And then we can figure out the budget, the monies in the budget of, you know, where that's gonna come out of. Okay,
Great. Let's put it forward.
all right. So let's have Chris's motion, and then we have a recommendation to remove all the chain link fencing. How's that, Michelle?
That sounds really good. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, all righty. Okay, Becca? You have your motion there, okay?
I'm good. Thank you. We appreciate your support, and I think that sculpture will be well suited for the site.
Yeah, and like I said, if you can like incorporate some of that sidewalk into the pedestal, that'd be great. It'd be really nice to have like a little rounded thing going there.
We will look at that with our new Parks Director and Public Works and the engineer working on the new pedestal. Thank you. Yeah.
Right, yeah. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I've got a question, and this may lead to something on a future agenda, but do you remember when we were discussing originally the disc golf in Fields Park?
Yeah,
And we had asked, gosh, I think at the time, maybe, was it Shelley? Was it that long ago? Anyway, whether or not we could find out if the CSU land on the opposite side of the creek was something that we could potentially activate. This is something that just came up in conversation in the neighborhood recently, and I can't remember the outcome of that discussion. Did we ever get an answer on that?
I don't think we did, but now we have the hotel, the Holiday Inn that like goes all the way to the creek practically. And so I don't know if that's their property or what, but I'm kind of thinking it probably still is CSU, although I don't know how they were able to build so close to the creek. So I don't know. I know we did talk about access. How would we get over there?
Well, just it may be something to put on a future agenda to ask the city to revisit whether or not that's something that's a possibility for us.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
That's all I got. Other than that, this is a new record for efficiency.
So then are we gonna skip December and then you'll get back to us on the January session?
Yeah, sure. Are you guys, take a break? You guys worked hard all year. And then we can regroup in January, figure out where we're going with council.
I just have two questions. Did somebody second my motion?
Sure,
Oh.
I did.
Oh, Tim did.
Or maybe
Yeah, Tim or I did.
Rebecca?
I
Doesn't matter.
either
Yeah,
Tim
actually,
or
yeah, it
Dave-
might have been Dave.
did.
Actually, I think it was Dave.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was you, Dave. My other question is, I'm not sure what phase 2 of Soda Springs Park includes. Is it just the playground and the sidewalks?
Yeah, and also I think there's some landscaping too, I think.
Cool. Okay, just curious.
You know what, Chris, what I'll do is I'll send you with the phase 2 of what I have in my records here, okay?
Okay.
But I think mostly what we're focusing on is the playground and maybe, you know, doing some of those connectivities with the sidewalk,
Great.
cut out that one section of wall there so that you can walk all the way across
Cool.
from the one section and get to the picnic table. And then there's that sidewalk that kind of ends and goes nowhere. Maybe depending on how much money we can get, finishing it over to the driveway so that there's, a complete sidewalk there. Okay, anything else? No, if not, I'm happy to adjourn. Thank you,
Great.
Megan.
Thanks all.
Hey,
Take care.
everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Have a great week.
Yeah, you too. Hey, so we're not gonna meet in December then, right? So have a good holiday.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.